3 months ago, I held something in my hands that was buried 6 feet underground. I know that because I put it there myself. And the person who came to claim it knew exactly which drawer it was in. I manage the lost and found department for a large regional transit authority in central Tennessee. Bus stations, park and ride lots, commuter terminals. When people leave things behind, those things come to me. I have worked this job for 11 years. In 11 years, I have seen everything you can imagine left behind by human beings. Laptops, wedding rings, once, an entire birthday cake with the candle still in it, a note beside it that just said, "Sorry." I stopped being surprised by things a long time ago. Or at least I thought I had. My mother passed away 4 years ago. Ovarian cancer, 14 months from diagnosis to gone. She was 61 years old. And she was the most deliberate woman I have ever known. She labeled everything. Kept receipts from 1987. Never lost a single thing in her entire life, which made it deeply unfair that the universe chose her for a disease that takes everything. At her funeral, I placed 3 items in her casket before she had written them down herself in her final weeks. On a notepad she kept beside her bed, a photograph of her and my father from 1985, a small silver pendant, a crescent moon on a thin chain that her own mother had given her, and a transit pass. My transit pass. From my very first week on this job, she had kept it in her jewelry box for 11 years. She told me once it was her favorite thing she owned, because it meant I had found work I was good at. I watched them close the casket. I watched them lower it. I went home, and I did not think about those 3 items again until 8 weeks ago. For 4 years, I carried that loss quietly. The way you learn to carry things that have no solution. You put them somewhere deep. And you go back to work. It was a Tuesday morning in early February. I was at my desk going through the weekend intake forms. The same thing I have done every week for 11 years. I was halfway through Saturday's forms when my hand stopped. Item number 2847. Found on bus route 14, seat 9, Saturday, 6:42 a.m. Description: small silver pendant, crescent moon shape, thin chain, no clasp, slightly tarnished. I read it 3 times. I walked to drawer 7, where new small items are held. My hand found the handle, and I stopped. For just a moment. Then I pulled it open, and I sat down on the floor of my own office because my legs stopped working. It was my mother's pendant. Not one like it. Not similar to it. Hers. I know every mark on that piece of jewelry. The small scratch on the back of the moon from when she dropped it on the bathroom tiles in 1994. The chain with no clasp, because it broke years ago and she had it soldered into a loop instead of replacing it. It was hers, the one I had placed in her casket. 4 years ago, I held it up to the light, and I looked at the back. The scratch was there. The soldered loop was there. The faint engraving on the back, her mother's initials, barely visible. But there, I was not wrong. I want to be very clear about what went through my mind in the next hour, because I think it matters. My first thought was that I was wrong, that grief distorts memory, that I was looking at a similar pendant and filling in the rest. I examined it for 20 minutes under my desk lamp. I was not wrong. My second thought was that someone had accessed the casket. I know how that sounds. But I am a logical person, and I needed logical explanations first. I called the funeral home. The same director who handled my mother's service. He offered to arrange an inspection of the grave. I said I would call back. My third thought was that my mother had perhaps given the pendant away before she died. That someone else had it legitimately. That it had simply ended up lost on a bus the way things do. But she had written it down. On the notepad, in her handwriting, the crescent moon pendant. Put it with me. I still have that page. By the time I had exhausted every rational explanation, I had nothing left. Nothing except the knowledge that somewhere on bus route 14 and seat 9, my mother's pendant had been found. I pulled item 2847 from the drawer, logged it under my name, claimed by family member of deceased original owner. I took it home that night. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 6 days later, a woman came to my window, perhaps 70 years old, small, neat gray coat, hair pinned back. She stood at the counter with both hands folded and looked at me with an expression I cannot fully describe. Patient, like she had been patient for a very long time. She said she was there to collect item 2847. I felt the blood leave my face. I told her item 2847 had already been claimed. She nodded slowly, like this was information she already had. Then she said, "By you." "Yes." "How is it?" "Is it tarnished?" I could not speak. She tilted her head slightly and said, "She wanted you to have it. She just needed you to find it first. That is how she always did things. You know that." I did know that. My mother never gave gifts directly. She hid them. In coat pockets, in books, between sofa cushions. She believed found gifts meant more than handed ones. It was the most her thing in the world to do. I asked the woman who she was. She said she rode Route 14 every Saturday morning. Had done for years. A few weeks ago, she found the pendant on her usual seat, seat 9, and turned it in. She said my mother had sat in that same seat every Saturday for years before she got sick. They had ridden together, talked constantly. My mother had spoken about me.
I need to know why my package hasn't arrived.
About the transit pass.
I have been waiting here all day for this.
Then she reached into her coat pocket and placed a folded piece of paper on the counter.
I've been standing
She
here for
said my
nearly
mother
15
had
minutes.
given it
I
to
just need
her
a
years
signature.
ago, with one instruction. If anything ever happens to me, and my child seems lost, give them this. Then she said goodbye, and walked out. I stood at that counter for a long time, before I unfolded the paper. It was a page torn from a notepad, my mother's handwriting. "You were never going to lose me. I just needed you to find me first. That is how I do things. You know that. Keep the pendant. Stop being sad. I mean it." That evening I called our customer service line, asked them to pull the call logs for our lost and found number, for the 2 weeks after item 2847 was logged. There was no call inquiring about a crescent moon pendant. Not one. I pulled the CCTV footage from the service window that afternoon. I am on the footage, clearly visible, visibly shaken. I look down at the counter. I unfold something. The other side of the window is empty. There is nobody there. I stood at that window for 4 minutes and 20 seconds talking to nobody. And on the counter in front of me, appearing between one frame and the next, is a folded piece of paper. No hand placed it. No person carried it. It simply appeared. I have the footage. I have the note. I have the pendant around my neck as I tell you this. I have no explanation. What I have is this. My mother was a woman who always found a way, who never left anything important unfinished. And I think that whatever comes after this life, she found a way there too. I wear that pendant every single day now. And some mornings when the light catches it a certain way, I find myself checking my coat pockets. Just in case. She left something else. If you have ever experienced something you cannot explain, something that felt like a message from somewhere this world doesn't have a name for, send it to When Dark Speaks. Every story is read. Every story that cannot be explained will be told. Because the dark doesn't always mean something evil is near. Sometimes, it just means someone is finding their way back to you. The dark has spoken. Sleep, if you can.